cells need to interact with a lot of molecules to keep itself alive. It needs to take up oxygen, water, nutrients, and similarly, it needs to eliminate wastes generated in it, carbon dioxide, and excess water. Now, how do these molecules come in or out of the cells? Let us find out. Now, if you suspend a drop of ink in a water glass, then ink travels from high concentration of ink to low concentration of ink, and this process is known as diffusion. So through diffusion, cells take up oxygen and gives out carbon dioxide. Now we already know this, that all living organisms, be it plants or animals, are made up of cells. This is a raisin plant, so raisins are made up of plant cells. Now, if you keep raisins in a glass of water for a few hours, you will see that it slowly swells up. So how do these plant cells take up the water from the glass? Well, raisins have a high sugar concentration inside. This glass of water has a more dilute solution with respect to the concentration inside the raisins. So water travels from more dilute conditions to a less dilute condition, and this is known as osmosis. So through osmosis, raisins take up water and they get swollen up, and when they get swelled, there is reduced sugar concentration inside the raisin. Now let us see what osmosis is. Osmosis is the transport of water from a region of high water concentration to a region of low water concentration across a semi-permeable membrane, just like the membrane of the raisin. Now, osmosis has three types. Let us see the first type. Now, when the outer solution concentration, that is concentration of solution outside the cell, is equal to the cell fluid concentration, then the outer solution is termed as isotonic solution, where iso means equal. Now, under these conditions, let us perform a simple experiment. Let us take some blood cells in an isotonic solution. So since the concentration of solution outside the cell and inside the cell are equal, so there is no water transport across the membranes. And that is how the cells remain intact. But if you keep cells in outer solution that has a concentration lesser than the cell fluid concentration, then let us see what happens. In this condition, the outer solution is more dilute. So this solution is known as a hypotonic solution, where hypo means less. So see, the outer solution has greater amount of water concentration, that is, it is more dilute. So water travels from outside to inside, that is within the cell, and that is how the cells burst. And finally, the third type of osmosis is when cells are kept in a solution which has a higher concentration than that of the cell fluid concentration. In this condition, the outer solution in which the cells are kept are known as the hypertonic solution, where hyper means more. So in this condition, the cells contain more amount of water than the outside. So water travels from the cell to outside, and that is why it becomes dehydrated and it has a shrunken appearance. So through osmosis, cells either take up water or release water into the surroundings. So we've seen that in diffusion and in osmosis, molecules move from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. But at times, cells require to take up nutrients such as calcium, sodium, and potassium against the normal molecular movement. That is, from a region of low concentration to a region of high concentration. See, in this picture, if you consider potassium ions is already present in a high concentration inside the cells. But potassium ions are less in concentration outside the cells. But in spite of this concentration difference, potassium moves from a low concentration to a region of high concentration. This is known as active transport, and for this, energy is required in the form of ATP. So through active transport, cells take up nutrients. So through all these mechanisms, diffusion, osmosis, and active transport, cells interact with variety of molecules and keeps itself alive and performs different cellular functions in the body. So diffusion and osmosis takes place naturally because of differences in concentration inside the cell and with the concentration outside the cell. And that is why no energy in the form of ATP is required, unlike active transport, which requires energy because molecules travel from a lower concentration to a higher concentration.